everybody joke around that, I have a mixed
Adriana,
language.
just that you don't have an accent. Put it a little bit to the front so it's in balance. No.
Oh,
He's
worried about you.
on the computer.
okay,
yeah.
so people joke around that I spoke my own vocabulary because I mix, Catalan with Portuguese and sometimes, but it always comes through when I do think, I used to think very fast since the beginning. When I was a kid, I used to joke around, I would say sentences, but my parents knew that I was thinking around, so, I don't know, from the night before they would tell me a story about like the red-capped little girl, and then the next day, we should buy a wardrobe for grandmother, so the guy to protect her will have a place to stay or something like that. And I would say like out of the blue, without like putting the record that, what the reference was. And the idea comes in the fact that sometimes I want to talk fast, and I would like talk a mix of Portuguese and Spanish and Catalan, and people there around me, sometimes understand, and unfortunately they do not correct me, so I never get better. So, here.
We understand you.
So, it's just a map we're gonna do. So, in your language, we're gonna talk about words in specific languages, and we're gonna talk about, new words that is being, invented for a joke, and then we're gonna do like the dictionary of obscure sorrows. Anybody saw that in YouTube? It's a pretty interesting, we're gonna do 3, and the last one is for us to talk about. So Zen is like limor that taught to me that is like in Chinese is when you want to say that no, not at all. There is also a word and that they use in Lisboa that is like mañana, or it's like just to postpone things. There is a word in Japanese that she mentioned that is like it's in own word. Is when you want to say that if someone said for you to not do a thing, you would do that thing, and anyway, just to prove the person is wrong.
Can I present? So it's the feeling you get, the urge. When someone tells you that you're never going to be a very good artist, and then you get I think it's curiosity, but I'm not sure. It's the feeling you get, the urge to prove them wrong.
To prove something
That's
wrong.
the drive, and that's called. And there's a word for it. It's amazing. Yeah.
In Japanese, they say.
Japanese have got many words for
Very special.
for things that in English we just and European language we don't.
And in Portuguese there is saudade, that is a unique word to the feeling when you miss Brazil or miss someone. And and there is words that we can find that is like in German there is a word when you are feeling alone in the woods. I cannot spell that word. There is another one just to say the name of the thing that the glass leaves on the table, the brown thing.
Okay.
There is another word in Japanese for like the sunlight that filters through the leaves of the trees. And there is another word that is in French, dépassement. It's like the feeling that comes from not being in your one's home country.
It's interesting.
So, and then there is Goya, that I learned also yesterday, is the transporting suspension of disbelief that can occur when in a good storytelling. When someone tells a story so good, it's like, that thing is not true. Cannot be true. It's called Goya. So, and then you have things, words that have been bought by you because of this social anxiety. That's a good one. And or new words that should be added to the dictionary, and they also call them the name improvements to everyday stuff. So you're gonna see X-hole. It's like the person that has too much.
I love that.
Bad garden is like the feeling that when you arrive from a big day of work and you arrive in your bed. And then you have master dating. When you go outside, when you go outside alone for a movie, or you go alone for like share drove is when you put you start putting clothes on a chair, and that becomes the wardrobe. And then you can have,
That's a good one.
yeah, you have like the text station.
Oh yeah.
Like when you're waiting for a text.
That is really cool.
You can have the selfish, when you have like, two persons, but you like stay on your cell phone and you like don't want to talk to them. And then you have the non-versation. It's the fact when you're like with another person and the silence means much more than, that you don't need to talk.
Silent for a second.
So you have the carcolepsy. Carcolepsy is basically like the person that, sleep when he's beside the car, collapsing. So you have the erosity. The erosity, errorist. So it's the person that, someone who repeatedly make mistakes or is always wrong. There is another one, the hibernating. Hibernating is when you have a date and you stop seeing your friends. So you're doing hibernation from
Hibernated.
And then there is another one that is like the universe. There is people that believe they are like their own universe and then like they survive by themselves. And there is like the colubacy, that is a little hard one. It's like when white people claim to have discovered something that has been around for years, decades or centuries.
Yeah.
They call it like colubacy. So you have also the okay, it's not subordinating, when your keyboard don't respect you and like do everything wrong. And then you have the afterclap. It's like the last person that always claps. You have the beer boarding. It's like, extracting secret information from someone after drinking beer. There is like the anonymity. Is like a food that has the taste of another food. But it's like, it's like, this is like a kid that is a designer and made like, amazing things. The quality here is very bad because I was doing this like in the morning, but like the real, I can give you the things. But it's like an amazing work on new words, and it's like an amazing, like the creativity that people put into that. Like the quality of this picture is like, is amazing in the end. And would like, and you have like that ambitious. That one is amazing. It's like, it's striving, be more of a bitch than the average bitch. Someone that's ambitious. So there is
Ambitious?
yeah, there is,
It doesn't sound bad.
I love that.
no. So there is like the internest. It's like everything you put together around your bed, so you have a nest for the internet. So that is the fun part. So now let's go to the hard part. So this is like the dictionary of obscure sorrows. So it's like, there is an introduction here, but basically it's like, trying to bring ideas into like, words, or even bring words when you need to represent the sorrow.
It says that the dictionary is obscene.
Oh, just a second.
There's no word in the English language for the desire to disappear, or the eerie tension of living thunderstorm, or a spark of eye contact that can leave you blind for days, or the realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid and complex as your own. No word for the wistful foreboding of the first sign of autumn, or the instinctive tendency to see someone as you knew them. No word for the moment you began to fear that your life would follow a sequence of predictable milestones, or the fear that it might never happen. No word for the suspicion that you are utterly unique, the suspicion that you are utterly not, the fear that there is no frontier left. You've already felt it, and you're ever going to feel. My name is John King, and this is the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, a new web series on the Tested Network. Our mission is to fill all the holes left in the language and give them each a name. The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, for lack of a better world.
So this is like a top-notch photographer that did amazing. So like I choose two of the mentioned. So we're gonna watch one and then watch the second. The second one is much more deep, and we can discuss the second one. So the first is like thunder. It's like basically, he can explain, so he say better things than I do.
Buffing. Yeah.
Oh, no, just a second. Don't go back. I have to go back. Why is not doing?
Oh.
I have it. On the right we go for oh shit, direct. I'm so bad. Can't believe didn't download everything. I can go.
Move it a little forward.
I can go online and play it also. Just a second. Oh gosh.
I wonder if there is a photographer about patterns created by accidents. Like that one.
Okay. History. History. Dictionary of sorrow. I don't know how much time we have.
Just don't stress out. We're all here for you.
No.
And in the meantime, I'm gonna take some photos. To document how smart we all are.
No. So.
There's no word in the English
Okay.
language for the desire to disappear.
Okay, I got it. I got there.
Or the
It's a bit indecent being sitting like that, right?
So. It's like. So thunder. Shut up.
Is there a word for this situation when you prepare something and everything breaks?
Yeah. I guess so.
Oh, Shakira, great presentation. Yeah. It's lovely. This was the best one in Kinnernet.
Oh gosh. Okay, my son said that I can take this thing out one day, but I don't. Okay, 1, 2, 3, get ready.
Sonder. You were the main character. The protagonist, the star at the center of your own unfolding story. You're surrounded by your supporting cast, friends and family hanging in your immediate orbit. Scattered a little further out, a network of acquaintances who drift in and out of contact over the years. There in the background, faint and out of focus, are the extras. The random passersby, each living a life as vivid and complex as your own. They carry on invisibly around you, bearing the accumulated weight of their own ambitions. Friends, routines, mistakes, worries, triumphs, and inherited craziness. When your life moves on to the next scene, there's flickers in place, wrapped in a cloud of backstory and inside jokes and characters strung together with countless other stories that you'll never be able to see, that you'll never know exists, in which you might appear only once, as an extra sipping coffee in the background, as a blur of traffic passing on the highway, as a lighted window at dusk.
like, you know, I'm not saying good. And the next one, alasia, the fear that you are no longer able to change.
What is the word?
Alasia. Let me see if they're gonna put me in that on that too.
Of all the different...
Yeah, so let me just put it right. Allow. Go back. Good here. And let's try.
Of all the different ways we reassure ourselves, the least comforting is this. It's already too late. Malaysia. When you were born, you could have been anybody. So quick and malleable, your parents could look at your face and see a future president. They tried to mold you as you grew, but they could only work with what they had. And when their tools stopped working, they slowly handed off to you, asking, so what do you want to be when you grow up? There's a certain art to becoming who you are. A teenage personality is a delicate medium. Its emotions are almost too heavy to handle. You have to keep yourself together and tease out the good parts without stretching yourself too thin. You can never stop moving for too long, or focus on just one side, or you'll fall out of balance and never stand on your own 2 feet. You can't ignore your flaws, but you can't just fix them either, and force yourself to change, even when you keep getting burned. But the toughest thing to master is the sense that your personality is hardening over time, that the fire that kept you flexible...
Amazing.
Cool.
You're becoming set in your ways. You can still recall the heat of youth that once kept you warm on the dingy couch for a night in the wilderness. At any given time, you remained untouchable. You knew that you weren't just you. You were also the person you will one day become, finding comfort in the lines. I am not I. I am the one walking beside me, who stays calm and silent while I talk, and forgives gently what I hate, who walks where I am not, who will remain standing while I die. But now it's hard to deny that you are anyone but yourself. You are who you are, for better or for worse. And for all you're wondering what kind of person you are going to become, somewhere you forgot that question actually has an answer, and that one day will soon arrive, if it hasn't already. Now you wonder if you can change, even if you wanted to. If you have enough fire in the belly to surprise yourself. Or if you're now too hardened and cynical to stretch without shattering completely. Of course, maybe who you are is just fine, and dreaming of being someone else would only keep you from being your best self. Or maybe that doesn't really matter. Maybe it's already too late.
Voilà.
Amazing.
Cool. What's the word?
Alasia.
Alazia.
Z or S?
Z.
Comments. You can start.
I'm lazy. I'm lazy.
No, not better. So I'm going to jump in the middle. So someone else
Lazy.
start.
So, how do you guys think?
You feel.
Okay, so my version on that is like the first time I saw it, I said like, no, I can always change. You know, everybody can always change. But here what it's talking about is like personality. It's being comfortable with what you are. And it's like we are like our experiences. How much cuts and like things we have on our leg comes a story, and it's like, you know, I wouldn't want to lose all of that, and I'm part of what is part of me. But it's like building that personality, all the work you have been done to build that personality. It's like, and the big question is, are you comfortable with what you are? Is the key thing for me. And it's like, and what it said, maybe if you're comfortable, you're okay on not changing it. And or maybe you feel that you must change all the time. So it all depends on in how people react. It's like, you know, it took me like, you know, 2 times to not get angry with the guy on the video when he said so. But it's like, you know, it all depends on the phase you are in your life also, and how you can accept what is being said. And one of them jump.
I was
Well,
just still, we talked about it and I don't buy it somehow. You know, because
That
it's
you
easy
one time
to...
you're gonna stop changing? Your parents change?
Oh, so much so.
Your parents?
Absolutely. My father became so conservative at his very latest years, my late father. He changed so much. He had been such a liberal, open person. Then he suddenly started to get rigid and rigider and rigider. It comes with age. And I think that we do change. We are in flux. Our bodies change. Our cells change. We do change. Our thoughts change. Our points of view change.
I would say it depends how confident you are in yourself. Like, so for my mother, I feel she's never changed. She's
Even
but
our
she's
brains
so
change.
she's so
due to
rigid
plasticity.
and
Following that idea, I mean, I wouldn't call it change, I would call it drift.
Oh yeah. That's
Because
a good-
it's change is something you can measure. A drift is barely a change with time, but it leads you somewhere that you were not following, the ocean.
Yeah, and also,
An evolution.
and also I coming to the parents, like for example, my mom has changed a lot because she had a big huge crisis. My parents divorced and it was shocking for her, and she changed, you know, and people just got away from her, and then she changed the other side because she learned, she passed her, you know, that cycle, and she's actually a changed person or a drift person or evolved person. So I would say you can always change, but sometimes you need somebody to knock your structure.
I
Or
think one
something
of
to
the
look at.
questions is I have a feeling that this video talks about conscious change, determined change, rather than what is described here is kind of change by circumstances of life that is perhaps unaware.
Mm.
And
Yeah, we discussed about that. So when you're a teenager, someone can talk to me and say, hey, you should be like a football player. It's like, you know, the personality, oh, let's do drug dealing, like, you know, let's so it's like, you know, it's easy for you to take any path, any career, because it's like, you know, hey, you're like, you know, 18, it's like, you know, anything is easy for you. So nowadays it's like, you know, someone calls like, you know, okay, let's go ski next weekend. Oh no, man, you know, I have like, you know, this thing and this thing. It's like, it's a little change that you can see on the time, but it's like, you know, it's also like, you know, no. I want to do these other things. It's like, you know, and when you're youth, it's like, you know, you can do 10 things at a time. It's like, you know, the fact that you have, and even it's mentioned, like the flaws you have, you pass by. Now, but now the flaws you want to correct. You want to do things better. You want to improve yourself. Normally, like on the past, if you have any flaws, it's like, you know, yeah, pass. And that will pass, that will pass, that will pass. And then like things just stop passing.
I mean, are we a combination of habits? Is that what a human being is? Because this is what this is implying, and I think that we can always change at each stage of our lives. I mean, look at Leni Riefenstahl. She started scuba diving when she was 70 years old, and you know, this theory denies her that liberty, and I think that is really reductionist.
No, but what we talk here is like personality.
Okay.
She wasn't like, you know, in a bed for her entire life and then started scuba diving. No.
Fair enough. You know,
She was active the entire time.
Maybe a bad idea, but then you also may make a conscientious decision to change something that is you're irritated about in your own personality. For example, that you're not very nice to people, right? And you can make a you know, educated, informed decision that you're no longer going to be doing this. And you know, I think this is like a determinist approach that actually denies us the freedom to change. I see it like that.
The thing is like what is being said that is like trying to put a word in a feeling. It's basically when you're like laying down in bed and say, am I gonna be able to do this next project? Am I be like, you know, strong enough to go and change me and change and achieve what I'm aiming? It's like the fear is like it's like, you know, can I change?
And why is it important to put a word to the feeling? What service does it, what purpose does it serve?
No, but basically he did that by photography. He's like a photographer and I'm
No, but
document.
like, what does the, you know?
No,
what should
you can
be-
summarize. It's like, you know, the fact we create words for that. Why there is the word love, where there is like the word, you know, it's like, you know, the necessity maybe that he found on like, putting words to feelings.
It's a good question because he could say, well, he could help me identify the feeling if I have a word for it, It's like,
For fear.
and so it is a good question because doing the question automatically exposes you to the consciousness of the feeling, of feelings, and say, it's good to be conscious of feeling. Oh, that's my reading.
Right.
So
What was the word again?
Alasia. And the other feeling also, yeah,
Alasia.
yeah, and the other feeling before
Nice name
that,
for a girl, actually.
and the feeling before that, I don't know if you guys remember, is the feeling that, even though your life is amazing, you may be the person taking the coffee on another person amazing life too.
It's
You
interesting.
have that feeling, sorry. We have that feeling when we are young. And I have that. So when you're young, the time you arrive at the party is the time the party starts. We have that feeling that everybody is a second character in our life. And it's like, and when you arrive, and people are like, oh, like that, and then you enter in the room, like everybody start moving. It's like, it's the fake idea that is like, your life is a movie. And we leave that the entire time. I couldn't care less. I arrived here and I want the best party to start.
You were very self-confident when you were a kid. Because when
No,
I
no,
arrived
no.
to Paris when I was a kid, I thought I was the last person of the party.
Well, I thought that everybody was looking at me, laughing at me.
Yeah, I had the same feeling.
I was always the last person.
Yeah.
It reminds me
self-confident woman.
of the 1971 interview with Woody Allen, the best interview I've seen in my life. And there was a question: when do you usually arrive at parties in California? And he said, at the hellos. And when do you leave? At the goodbyes, usually. Lovely.
I could.
It's interesting that he's chosen to focus on the negative feelings and to
Is the
fill
sorrow.
those words. And, I wonder if there's more of those negative feelings to feel because we have a lot of words for the positive feelings.
There is one that is like is one that I thought on like just to make the discussion worse. There is another one that was mentioned like the other day here, and it's like is the word of wanting, even though when you achieve something and why we need more. There was like a question. I think who did that question the other day? It was like why after we achieving so much we still want to strive or get more.
Because of the reward.
Yeah, it was like the discussion on reward and all that. Let me just. So that one is like and also like it was like the third one I was
It's
putting.
the search of pleasure and rewards.
Yeah, but he cannot mention it's like a sort of way again. So he may not like it.
Because of dopamine, no?
The reward system of the brain.
Yeah.
So we can have one last one. Just a second. It's this one. The desire to feel intensity again. Feel intensely again.
Somebody measured the brain and they realized that they measured that the desire and the expectation of the happening was more intense than the experience of the happening.
This episode is brought
But
to you by
remember-
AJ Plus.
This moment you were gonna go and kiss again.
So far.
No, it's not so.
That
Before
moment-
kissing.
before when you're gonna jump
Yeah.
and you don't know what's gonna happen at the end. Usually, the girl gives you signals. Oh man, we
Yeah.
tend not to see them, but they give you signals like that moment where you're approaching is
More intense than the
than
thing.
the rest. Yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to tell my daughter, not when I was a kid, when she was a kid, I used to say, I'm gonna tickle you. And she would just start laughing,
Exactly.
Yeah. And then I'm sitting like this, I'm gonna tickle you, and she,
Exactly.
It's exactly the same thing.
That's a great example.
So something bad is happening here again.
And that applies to fear too. It's interesting.
I'm gonna tell you a scary story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other day one of my kids started crying because the older kid said, "Oh, that's a scary story, and we're gonna be very afraid." And they went, "I don't wanna be afraid."
Okay. second. 1, 2, 3, go.
The first note is always the loudest. How quickly each feeling starts to fade as you adjust your expectations and protect yourself by gradually tuning out the world. Sometimes you reach a point when you can't feel anything at all, just a ringing in your ears.
That is bad.
Hey, let go.
What?
That's great.
Until, like Beethoven, you find yourself pounding the keys of your life to feel anything at all, trying to make the ground thunder below your feet. You, ye. It makes you wish you could look around with fresh eyes and feel things just as powerfully as you did when you felt them for the first time. Before expectations, before memory, before words.
It's like, it ends like that. It's like collage of like the first time images.
Of course, eventually it all starts to fade again. Until, like Beethoven, you look up from the keys and have to ask yourself, ist es nicht schön? Is it not beautiful?
So it's sometimes we think it's like the sorrow that we can.
Expectations. Protect yourself.
And so it's you sing more, Pablo. You like it?
Yeah, I like it because it actually connected with other things in my head. I don't know if it's the sofa or the video, but it's this it's more than words, you know, it's something that he has done there is to connect with the emotions through visual sensing and sound, which is, you know, easy and it's easier to explain it that with words. You know, when you say Alasha,
No, this is a wu yi.
I know
This is
Wuji,
wu yi.
or you say Wuji, it doesn't connect with you. But if you put the sound in the videos, then you feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's like, you know, the fact that, you know, it's the first, it's the love we have, like, you know, we wish you could, like, you know, repeat it. It's like, you know, seeing the ocean for the first time, this sensation that you had, is like, you know, it's sometimes we strive, and like maybe that could be even an excuse for like people to do drugs and anything. It's like to